Hey folks, Devin Pennypacker here for the Windup Watch Shop, and today we have a bit of a different style of video for you, where instead of looking at a collection of watches or a single model to review, we're actually going to be changing out the strap on an old watch that we already own in order to update the look and feel. We're going to go over single pass and double pass nylon, rubber, leather, and just a few different styles of bracelets that you might encounter out there on the market, so stick with me and we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Now, throughout this video, if you see anything that you need to add to your collection or add to your kit, please be sure to check out the Windup Watch Shop, where we have a curated selection of tools, accessories, and watches made by enthusiasts for enthusiasts just like you, where every purchase actually helps support us in doing what we're doing, like making these videos today. All right, so you're gonna notice that there are two different trays in front of me here. We have a selection of different watches that we're going to be working on. And then over here, we have a selection of tools and straps and some other things that you might need to know. So first of all, let's get the watches out of the way and go through our tray of tools. Now, the first thing that you're going to need is a spring bar tool. I have my trusty Windup Watch Shop spring bar tool here. The nice thing about this one is it does pack down and kind of screw together to protect the tips. But if you actually go into the tip here, all of these tips are replaceable just by pulling them out, held in by a simple O-ring. And I have found that having these tools are really important because you might bend a tip, you might scratch a tip, so being able to replace them on the fly is really important. That being said though, there are a whole bunch of other tools out there, like this Bergeron tool that I have. I've used these and had great success with them. But if you do end up, traveling with these, they can be a little bit difficult because your tips are exposed and can cause some damage in your bag. I do have some spare spring bars here. Now, the spring bars are important. This is something that I order with every single strap that I purchase, just because you occasionally will send one flying across the room, landing in the carpet to never be found again. Having some extras on hand are just gonna help. And then you also get these little baggies too, which are great for holding pins and collars and links and whatnot. Another thing you might wanna have is a microfiber, just so that way you can use this to clean your surface, clean your watch, get in there into the nooks and crannies once you take the bracelet off, because you do tend to have some scum that hides on the inner links in there. So having a microfiber is important. I also keep a handkerchief on hand here, just so that way I can use this to, again, clean the watch for more of that bigger debris. But then I also find too that it's nice to have a surface where I can lay spring bars, tools, links, and stuff like that without them rolling off of my surface. And then last but not least is some sort of tray. Now, the tray is just gonna help you keep all the pieces in front of you, help you organize things, and again, stop you from losing those little things. The collars that go around the pins inside of the bracelet can be really small and kind of a nuisance. So having a spot to kind of keep them so they don't roll away from you is very important. Now, changing gears and moving over to the watches here, you're gonna notice that I have 5 different watches here. They're all pretty different. Most of them are 22 or 20 as far as the lug width goes. So we're not really gonna get into lug width too much in this episode. It's gonna be more just talking about how to change them out. But they do kind of represent the variety of things that you're going to see out there, whether it's quick release, whether it's drilled lugs, non-drilled lugs, solid end links, hollow end links. We're gonna go through all of that here in just a moment. So the first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and get my handkerchief out here again to kind of hold space on the table for me. And then we are going to grab the Seiko Samurai. This is a pretty popular model, very similar to the Turtles or the SKXs that you might see on the market all over the place in that entry-level dive category. But the nice thing with this one is we're dealing with drilled lugs, which is just going to make the process of changing out the strap a whole lot easier for us. So with the watch in hand, we can go ahead and grab our spring bar tool, go ahead and unscrew the cap to where we have the actual pin poker. And with this one here, we can simply insert it into the drilled lugs and push the spring bar out. And while you're pushing in, you wanna make sure you push the bracelet out, and then you can do it on the other side. Make sure to control the bracelet though, because otherwise, again, the spring bar will just shoot off of there, and then you're hunting for one of those for a few hours. We can go ahead and take that spring bar, put it off to the side, move over to the other side, and now we can take the other spring bar out as well. All right, now that we have the bracelet actually taken off and removed there, and we have the watch separated from the bracelet, the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and put those spring bars back in, because we're going to be using them for the pass-through NATO style strap. So we'll go ahead and insert that spring bar. Again, it's pretty simple. You can just kind of put the one side in and snap the other side in using your finger to guide it. So that way you're not scratching up your lugs on the top or on the bottom. So now that you have your spring bars in there, we can go ahead and grab our NATO strap. I have one of the gray 22mm Adapt military spec style straps here. Just go ahead and pass that strap through the top spring bar there, underneath the watch, and then back up through the other side. and then we can throw the strap back onto the keeper. And it just completely changes the look and feel of that watch. Obviously, adding just a little bit of color makes the dial and the bezel pop a little bit more. Definitely changes the feel of the watch, and if we're being honest, it lightens it quite a bit because those stock bracelets can be pretty hefty and not always the most comfortable. So go ahead and throw this on the wrist and show you what it looks like on the strap so you can see the differences there. And then we'll take it off and let's try it out on a leather strap here. All right, so for the leather, we're gonna have to go ahead and take the spring bar back off again because the spring bars are actually now going to go into that leather strap. So again, we'll push it through those drilled end links, pop the spring bars out. Again, make sure that you are keeping track of those because if you lose them and didn't purchase separate ones, it's kind of a mess where you are now hunting for it. And if you can't find it, your watch now has no strap on it until you can get new ones in. So we'll put that aside and we'll go ahead and grab the leather strap. Here I have one of the black suede leather straps from the Windup watch shop at 22 millimeters. It is one that if you're putting it on a dive watch, people will call it sacrilege. I'm not one of those people, so we're gonna go ahead and do it because I think the look and feel is actually pretty nice. So you just take your spring bar and you slide it in. Now you can see I'm running into an issue there, and this is something you might encounter too. These are what a lot of people call fat spring bars. You find them on a lot of Seiko models and they don't necessarily fit all that well inside of a leather strap. So luckily I can put that aside and I can go over here and pull out my bag of 22 millimeter spring bars where I have some thinner options. All right, so you can see now I can just go ahead and push this one all the way in. So I just have the tips of the spring bar sticking out on either side. I'm gonna go ahead and do that to the other strap side as well, the male end. Now I'm ready to put them in. Now for this, obviously we can't use our pusher tool anymore because the strap is gonna get in the way. And it's a little bit harder to do it with just your hand because it is inside of that leather strap. So we're actually gonna switch over to the other side of this tool and we're going to pull out the fork tool. Now this fork tool can be a little bit sharp, so be careful when you're working with it. This is where you might wanna actually tape the inside of your lugs so you're not scratching up your lugs on your watch all that much. And make sure that you're working from the underside and not the top, so that way if you do scratch those lugs, you're not seeing them visually from the top when you're just wearing your watch normally. So we'll go ahead and we'll take the strap and we will pop the bottom into the watch, use the fork on the other side and wrap it around the tips of those spring bars and just go ahead and pop the watch strap in. We have our male side in, we'll go ahead and put the female side in. Again, starting with that bottom. Once that is seated into the hole properly, use the fork, push down on the top of the spring bar, put it inside of the lug, and then release. And if it's not seated, you can just wiggle it slightly and eventually, boom, it will pop in. And all of a sudden, your strap now looks incredible on either side of your watch. Again, completely changing the look and feel. You know, you saw it on the bracelet, you saw it on the NATO. Now you see it on this kind of distressed suede leather. Looks like a brand new watch, even though it's the same exact one, and it costs you significantly less to update it. Now let's go ahead and swap this over to a rubber strap. So again, we're gonna pull out that poker tool and use those drilled end links to go ahead and push the spring bar out and remove that. And now the fork comes in handy because you can actually use that fork now to push your spring bar back out of the strap you just used because it will stay inside of that strap. So you can push it out and pull your spring bar out. Again, put them in the tray so you don't lose them. And then we can go ahead and grab our rubber strap. This is actually the stock 22 millimeter rubber dive extension Seiko. And this one will accept those fat spring bars, so we can go ahead and swap back to those fat spring bars again. Push them inside. They don't hold them all that well, so be careful tilting it one way or another. And then in a very similar process, you just simply seat the bottom, take your fork tip, depress the top of the spring bar, and snap it into place. Get the other one in really quickly. And now again, we have the watch on a brand new strap here. Looks incredibly different, looks a little bit sportier, just completely changes the look and feel and helps you take one watch on multiple different kinds of trips, whether you're hiking or kayaking or sailing or going to the office or just wearing it every day. The strap can really make a big difference based on what you're doing and what you're going through. We'll put the Seiko Samurai aside and then we will pull over here. I have a Zelos titanium dive watch. Pretty simple watch, pretty cool bracelet. A little bit different as far as how you're going to change this one out because this one actually uses a quick release on the bracelet itself. So on the back of the bracelet, there are these little tabs. And all you have to do with this one, rather than get the tool out, is pinch those tabs and then the bracelet pops right out. So you can go ahead and do that on both sides. and now your watch is free. This is something that we found on a bunch of micro brands early on in the watch industry, but now we're starting to see those quick adjust and quick releases come out on a bunch of different variety of straps and bracelets and different watches, high and low within the industry. So if you have that on there, it really makes the toolless adjustment really simple. But yeah, if you're going to swap it over to a strap that has that quick release spring bar, like this one does, great, you don't need a tool. However, if you don't have those built into the strap that you're swapping over to, you're still gonna need that spring bar tool, so it's good to have one on hand. The other kind of end link that you might run into here is where you do not have drilled lugs. Now, we talked about drilled lugs with the Seiko. The Seiko has those holes where you can kind of poke the tool through. On this Oris here, for instance, we do not have those same holes drilled in the side of the lugs. So instead, taking off the spring bar, you have to go from the back of the case where there are these little grooves cut out, and the spring bar is exposed for you to get the tool at it. So we'll go ahead and open up the bracelet there, grab our fork tip, and then from there, we can insert the fork tip into the cutout hole on the back of those end links, and we can go ahead and work our way in, pushing that spring bar free. The one last thing, the other watch that I did bring out here that I wanted to show off is this Citizen Orca. Now, the interesting thing here is we talked about lug width in the beginning of this video. That's something you're gonna wanna pay special attention to. The Seiko Samurai here, 22mm lug width, so my spring bars, my straps, all 22mm. This Zelos, 20mm. So again, that is going to dictate which spring bars I use and which straps are going to fit it and look proper on it. However, this Citizen is a bit more of an integrated design, which means that the lug width is much narrower and meant to work with this bracelet, making secondary options very difficult. So for a watch like this, you're probably going to have to source an OEM strap from the brand itself or find a secondary maker that can do it. Otherwise, you are kind of married to the strap or bracelet that comes on that watch. And even though changing it out might not seem all that difficult, it can be really frustrating when you buy a 20mm strap and spring bars only to find out that your lug width doesn't match the tools and the new strap that you just purchased. So keep an eye on that. Well, all right, guys, that is going to do it here from the Windup Watch Shop. We went through how to take off your bracelet, how to swap it over to a rubber, a leather, a nylon, any kind of strap that you might be looking for. Just make sure you're paying attention to that lug width because that is going to be very important and a mistake that I've made quite a few times, if I'm being honest. Anyway, I know your time is valuable, so I appreciate you spending some of it with me, and until the next video, peace.